Our second deployment option is Firebase. Firebase is a platform provided by Google that we use to build the backend of our web and mobile applications. So with Firebase, we get a real-time database that is super fast and scalable. We get cloud messaging, we get hosting, and a bunch of other services. Later in the course, we have a separate section about Firebase. Now, deploying to Firebase has an advantage over GitHub Pages because GitHub Pages is a simple solution for hosting static content. So as you saw in the last lecture, our application didn't have a backend. Well, more accurately, it did have a backend, but we didn't build that backend. So all we get from GitHub Pages is a host for static content. But with Firebase, we get additional services. We can use Firebase library to store our data in a NoSQL real-time database. We get cloud messaging, we get storage, and other services. So if your application needs some kind of backend, but you don't want to build that backend from scratch, you can use Firebase. So now let's see how we can deploy an application to Firebase. First, I want you to head over to console.firebase.google.com. When you log in here, on this page, you can create a new project. Let's call this followers-app and create this project. All right, our project is ready. Now back in the terminal, we need to install Firebase tools via npm. So I'm going to install this globally. Sudo npm install -g Firebase-tools. All right, beautiful. Next, we need to log into our Firebase account in the terminal. So we type Firebase, login. Now you can see I'm already logged in, but in your case, when you run this command, this is going to open a new page in your browser where you put in your username and password and login. Now in the project folder, we need to initialize Firebase. So Firebase init. So this is going to take us through a very simple wizard asking us what exactly we want to do with Firebase. So here we have three options: database, functions, and hosting. You can use the up and down arrows to select one of these items. Here, select hosting. Now the next question is about which Firebase project you want to use for this directory. Here we want to select our followers app. And we're almost done. So this creates two files in your project folder. One is firebase.json and the other one is .firebase.rc, which I'm not entirely sure what the second file is all about. Now back in the project, let's open up firebase.json. In this object, we're going to add a bit of configuration. So first I want you to add this key, hosting, set it to an object. In this object, we're going to have a property called public. And this determines the name of the directory that we're going to publish to Firebase. So we want to deploy the content of the dist folder. Okay? Now back in the terminal, we need to rebuild our application for production. Because in the last lecture, we built this application for GitHub Pages. There we set base href. Now we need to change that. We need to remove that. So once again, I'm going to run ng build --prod. And here we don't need to set base href. Just a simple production build. All right, beautiful. And the last step is to deploy this to Firebase. We can do that with one command. So that's Firebase deploy. Now, in only a few seconds, our application is going to be on Firebase. Okay, done. Beautiful. Now look at this hosting URL here. This is the address of our application. So followers-app.firebaseapp.com. Now chances are you can't use this name because I already used it during this video. So I'm going to copy this back in Chrome. All right, here's our application. Beautiful. Let's go to the followers page. Our navigation is working. We're also consuming GitHub HTTP services. However, when I'm on the followers page, if I refresh, I get a page not found error. The reason for this is because this application has a single HTML file, and that is index index.html. So when we send a request to this address, that is /followers, Firebase thinks this is the name of a file, but we don't have a file by this name in our directory. So we need to set up a simple rule in Firebase, and this will tell Firebase to redirect any URLs to index.html. There, our Angular application loads, and our routing kicks in and takes the user to the followers page. So back here in Firebase.json, I'm going to add a new key value pair. The key is rewrites. Make sure you spell it properly, otherwise it's not going to work. We set this to an array. In this array, we're going to have one object. This object should have two properties, source and destination. So source, we set this to double asterisk. So this represents any URLs. Now we want to redirect this to index.html. So destination should be /index.html. Now back in the terminal, one more time, Firebase, deploy. All right, beautiful. Now back in the browser, refresh. The problem is fixed. So this is how we deploy an application to Firebase. It's very easy and it takes only a few seconds. Now let's go to package.json. Just like the last lecture, I'm going to set up a custom script to easily deploy our application to Firebase. So let's call this command deploy :Firebase. Here we do ng build -- prod and then Firebase deploy. As simple as that. And now we can deploy our application with npm run deploy Firebase.